Today we're taking this blank Dressmaker studio page and turning it into this. And eventually this. So stick around. Welcome colorists, this is Pencilstash, a weekly show all about coloring. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to get all the new content as it comes out. And if you're enjoying my videos, do me a solid and hit that like button, share the video with your friends or on social media. So today, we're going to do this Dressmaker's Studio double spread page from Romantic Country's Second Tale, and we'll be using our Prismacolor Premier colored pencils. I have the set of 150, but use whatever you have in whatever colors you want. I'm going to be calling out what I'm using, but these are just suggestions. So this video will be part one of a series of videos I'll be doing on this page, and today we'll just be focusing on the dresses on the right side of the page. And because I'm not trying to cram 5 hours of coloring into a 20-minute video, I'll be showing you the majority of this in real time. And another thing, I have to be honest, I used some inspiration for choosing my colors here today. I used these two Victorian dress books that I've had forever and a day that I just love. They're chock full of color combos that felt very true to the time of this page, and I decided to use it as the inspiration for my dress colors. And both these books were published in 1984. I looked at the copyright, and that's about how long I've had them too. So let's get started. We'll begin with this dress in the middle, and I'm going to use some light grays and some soft greens and blues as my color palette for this dress. Starting with our jade green, we'll add an all-over layer on these ruffles just because they are a really small area to color. Then on these other ruffles, for lack of a better term, we'll use a very light layer of gray-green light that we'll add to here in a bit. Using our jade green once again, we'll start at the top and work our way down with a super light pressure, meaning very light-handed, leaving the very edges that gray-green light color. So what we're doing here, it's actually acting as our shadow and creating some visual interest without being too saturated, since these colors are very, very light and subdued. Oh, whoops, don't forget these ruffles here at the waist like I did. All right, now we're gonna punch up our color just a bit with muted turquoise. I'm starting with the bows, and I'm actually leaving an area on the large face of the ribbon completely white. This will be my highlight, and we'll actually fine tune this later. Now we'll add an all-over layer on these petals down the front of the dress. Nothing special here, just color them in. Back to gray-green light, we're going to go back over those white areas that we left on our bows with a very light circular motion, remembering to overlap and feather both colors together to get a super soft blend. Taking a new color, slate gray, we'll add some dark shading at the apex of our petals here to give these some definition. Then we'll add just a bit of this on our bows as well. Adding some touch up to these small areas. For these edges here at the hip, we'll color them with our gray-green light, then feather upward with jade using very light pressure. Onto the main body of our dress, no pun intended, we could leave this white, but it would end up looking a little flat. So we'll be using a few of our lighter French gray tones in order to give it some life. The nice thing about the Prismacolor pencils is that they have 3 ranges of grays: warm grays, cool grays, and French grays, all in percentages of the same color. And we're going to use our French grays here, as I really like how their kind of brownish undertone really complements with our blues. Starting with 20% French gray, we'll go around and place this lightly, just kind of where we feel the light would hit, where it needs some shading or around some contours, etc. Using the 10% French gray, I'll use this up against and into the areas where I put in the 20%, feathering it outwards towards the areas of the dress that we're leaving white, as this 10% will act as a great transition color between the white and the 20, so that we don't get that harsh line where those two colors meet. And we'll finish up and just add a little bit of this 30% French gray in some areas that may need a little bit darker shading. All right, 1 dress down, 3 more to go. Let's do this pleated number on the left in yellow. And you'll notice that I'm using very soft colors for this page, and there's actually a reason that I'm doing that. This page is very busy between the dresses and the hats and the wallpaper and the furniture and the shelving and the jewelry and blah, blah. There's a lot going on here. So in order to tone it down and kind of quiet the crazy, we'll use a very subdued color palette. This dress is going to primarily be yellow, so we'll start with an all-over layer of jasmine, which is a really nice soft pastel yellow while still kind of reading as vibrant. Going in now with yellow ochre to add some shading, especially at the top of our layers, kind of working our way downward. And it's a little easier when you're using two colors that are relatively similar here, like the jasmine and the yellow ochre. But you still want to use nice soft pressure when you do this, as it creates a smooth transition, meaning that you won't see those pesky pencil lines in your finished piece. And goldenrod, now for those areas we want to be darker. So in this scenario, our transition color is our yellow ochre. And you'll notice that I'm blah, blah, blah. So in this scenario, our transition color is that yellow ochre that we just used. And you'll notice that I'm now putting in this goldenrod color right underneath those areas where our dress layers overlap, creating a shadow where the top one would rest against the one beneath, as well as in the folds where one pleat would sort of shadow the other. So this goldenrod is our kind of our darkest shadow, the yellow ochre is our transition color, and then the actual body of the dress is that jasmine. Just cleaning up some areas I forgot to do. All right, 2 dresses down, 2 to go. We are halfway there. Let's do this cape, and we're going to use a few different mauve and berry colors, which are amongst my favorite in the Prismacolor pencil family. There's a few colors I'll use here which just complement each other so nicely. You'll see me use these a lot. Starting with pink rose, I'm going to place this down where I feel the light would hit the most, here on the front face of the cape and at the top of the shoulders. Now in with rosy beige, using a very similar technique to what we just used on our yellow dress. And this rosy beige will be our transition color, and these will be those long shadows. Just adding this pink color in just a few more places. Mahogany red, a color I think should actually be called rhubarb, but whatever. Since this color has a wonderful deep berry pink quality to it, and I'll use this in our cutouts just to add some interest. Now henna, another one of my favorites. This will be our darkest shadow color, and we're going to use these in those smaller areas again where those fabrics overlap. And we're just going to leave that ruffle up at the top white. All right, 3 down and 1 to go. This one has a very colonial vibe to me. Not sure why, but I'm going to color this one blue. And we're going to start with an overall layer of slate blue on the areas of the dress that sort of wrap around like a coat. Then we'll go in with our transition color, which is indigo blue, just darkening some areas to make it more realistic. Knowing where to put these light and dark areas will definitely take some time and some practice to get used to. And if you aren't sure, I encourage you to look at photos of clothing and other objects, whatever you're coloring, just to get some visual cues on where to darken and where to leave light, etc. Google Images is great for this, by the way. You can just type in, Victorian dress, you know, apple, whatever you're coloring, and it'll kind of give you a little bit of an indicator on where the shadows hit based on kind of where you decide your light source is. For our darkest area of blue, I'm actually not going to use blue at all. I'm using a color called Black Grape. And I love layering this color on top of the indigo blue as the two combine to form a great dark navy. And always remember that even with 150 color set at your disposal, there's always more colors that can be made just by layering. On this area of the skirt, I don't want to color in these stripes as I would feel it would just create too much of kind of like a circus tent effect. So I'm going to make a pinstripe instead, just by tracing along the given lines with my indigo blue. All right, she needs a little bit more color, so we're going to do these roses in pink. Our ribbon in peach beige, and our leaves in celadon green. Whoops, I just realized I forgot the jewelry up here, so I'm just going to color in the jewels for now with slate gray. Now I'd like the rest of this dress to read as white, But just like the previous dress, if we left everything white, it would look really flat, not that realistic. So we're just going to use a few French grays again to add in some definition. And here they are. Each one came out very nicely on their own, but I especially like them as a grouping. And you'll notice that I purposely chose to give each one of them a completely different color just to give them some individuality. Yet because we chose colors in the same sort of subdued color family, they really give a cohesive feeling next to one another. And just a reminder of how this page ultimately turned out. This is it in the end. We'll tackle the next phase of our page in next Friday's video. I do hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today. If you did, just a reminder that I absolutely love it when you guys hit that like button. It lets me know that you're enjoying the content I'm putting up, and it also helps new folks find my channel. I also love when you leave me a comment, so feel free to do that as well with maybe your thoughts on this page, any questions related to coloring that you might have, any ideas for future videos, whatever is on your mind. If you're looking for even more great coloring videos, check out my channel for tutorials, product reviews, etc., and I will see you guys next time.